In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the new feature field parameters in Power BI. We're going to go through the basics of how to use it and also some use case scenarios in which you could use field parameters such as switching axes or maybe getting your top 10s. All of that and more. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, my name is Fernan, and welcome to the Solutions Abroad YouTube channel, where we cover tips, tricks, and best practices when working with Power BI. I upload new videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when a new one is out. So field parameter is a new feature that was released last month as part of the Microsoft Build 2022. It lets you do things in Power BI that in the past the community had to create workarounds for, like swapping visuals using buttons. I covered it in a separate video, so you can check that out if you wanted to know that way of doing it. But to be completely honest with you, that video is now deprecated, and a much better solution is using the field parameters. And on top of that, there's also another feature that I think field parameter replaces, which is the perspectives, which basically allows users to customize the chart themselves, like changing chart types or axes. Field parameters don't go that far in terms of customization, but it allows you to set it up easily for your users to switch their perspectives. Now, because field parameters is a preview feature as of now, if you want to use it, you'll need to enable it from the settings here in Power BI Desktop. So if you go Options and Settings, Options, then under Preview Features, you need to tick the field parameters from here to enable it in your Power BI Desktop. Once you've enabled it from here and restart your Power BI Desktop, you should find the option for field parameters under the modeling ribbon here. And under New Parameter, you will find this new option here called Fields. Before we create our first field parameter, let's first have a look at the scenario we have here. So I've imported a small subset of the Northwind database, which is a database for a fictional company, Northwind, that sells grocery products internationally. So here, for example, we have a few sample tables like order details, which gives out the list of orders that were made for this company, when they were ordered, the type of products that were ordered, who ordered, and the type of products that we have or we are selling. There's already some pre-configured relationships between these, so you don't really need to worry about that too much. And the point of the exercise is to try to show the total sales of the Northwind database or the Northwind company and be able to switch axes using the field parameters. So the first thing that we'll need to do is we'll need to create a new measure to calculate the total sales. So from the order details table, we have two columns here, unit price and quantity, and we want to simply just get the total sales from these two columns. So the quickest way to do it is to create a measure here. You can just name this one total sales, and then from this one we can simply do a SumX of the order details. Expression would be unit price multiplied by quantity. So now let's pop this into a chart here. So we're gonna drag this into our chart here, and let's just simply use the category name as our axis. So here we have the total sales by category in a chart. What we want to do is to give our users the ability to switch how the total sales are sliced by. So right now it's sliced by category, but maybe we want to give them the ability to change this to be sliced by, let's say, products, or maybe sliced by customers. Now in Power BI Desktop, you can see that we can simply just change it here. We can just simply change the axis to product, and that will give us the total sales by product. But what you need to bear in mind is that your users won't typically have access to editing rights in your reports, so they won't have the ability to be able to do all of these functionalities. And this is pretty much where field parameters comes in. So let's start by creating a new field parameter. So we're going to go to modeling, new parameters, and fields. Now we want to create a new parameter, and we'll just name this by we'll just name it slice by, and this is the parameter that we'll use to change the way we slice our chart here. So from here, let's add a few things that we want to use to slice our data by. So for example, the product name, or maybe we want to also slice by customer company name. So we can reorder how they show up in the slicer, but we can also rename how they show up on the slicers themselves. So let's say product here and company would be customer. We'll leave add slicer to this page ticked. This basically means when we create this field parameter, it will auto generate a slicer for us. So when we hit create here, you'll notice that it adds this slice by visual on our report page here, and it's also created a calculated table slice by in our model, which we'll go back to in a second. So now from our slicer, I actually don't like this way of how it's shown, so maybe we'll just customize it a little bit, so horizontal instead, and maybe we can remove the headers and let's change it into sort of a vertical switch here. So similar to how I would create kind of custom switch to my chart. So this would be the way that you would swap between what you want to slice your chart by. But if you click on the slicers themselves, you'll see that it doesn't affect the chart yet, and that's because we actually haven't created a link to our bar chart yet. So to do that, let's go and select our chart here, and the x-axis where we're slicing it by product name, let's remove that. And under this new calculated table that's field parameters created for us, we'll just simply use the slice by and drag it into the x-axis as well. So now you'll see that it shows us total sales by product, and if we select something else like the customer, for example, you'll see that it gives us now the total sales by customer. So very easy, right? So how does it actually work? Well, field parameters create a standalone calculated table which lists out all the fields that we want to measure. The name of function essentially references the field or measure we want to use, and this is what makes the field parameters work. And then finally, we have the order, which kind of decides how the fields are ordered up when we put them in our slicers. So what if we want to add a new option here in our slicers? For example, I can see here we missed the category and we want to, let's say, add it as another option in this field parameter. Well, the thing is, at the moment we can't actually bring up that UI again for the field parameters without creating a new field parameters altogether. But what's great is that we can actually edit the DAX code itself. So from the slice by DAX code here, all we need to do is add another line here. So we're gonna just simply copy this last one here, add a comma, paste. We'll name this one category. And then under the name of, we just need to put the field that we want to reference. In this case, it's the category name. We also want it to be at the very end, so we'll just put the order to 2. If you hit enter, you'll see that it will add that new option for us in our slice by filter. So if we select category, that will now give us the total sales by category, and you'll see that the other buttons will still work the same. So now that you know how to use field parameters to change how you slice your data by, now I want to show you how to change what you measure by in your chart. The first thing before we continue is let's first create a new way to measure our data. So I'm gonna create a new measure here, doesn't matter where you put it, and we'll just name it percentage of sales. And for this measure, we're gonna do a divide. We're gonna get, first of all, the total sales that we've just created, the calculated column. And then here we want to do a sum x again for the total sales. All order details, the expression is total sales. So what this is doing is just simply trying to get the percentage of the total sales for whatever slice by you have selected. So for example, it's dividing the total sales for that category against our overall total sales. So we're using the all function here to just say ignore anything that is slicing you by, just give me the overall total sales regardless of how you're filtered. So if you simply hit enter here, and let's change this into a percentage, change it to a 0 decimal point. And now let's go back to this total sales by product, and instead of the y-axis being total sales, which is just the number value, you'll notice here, and to make it even easier to see, I'm going to show the data labels here. Instead of showing the actual total numbers, I want to see how it compares against our total percentage of sales. So if I just simply delete that total sales there, so you can see here, if we change, let's say, to category, you will see that 21% of our total sales were counted for by beverages. So now what we've created are two measures that we want to calculate our chart by, and we want to also have the ability to switch between the two. So let's do that. Let's make some space for it. So I'm going to create a new field parameter. So not there, under modeling, new parameter, fields. And this one we're gonna name this measure by. And from here, we just need to simply reference the measures that we've created. So we'll do total sales and percentage. We're gonna just rename this just to make it easier to know which one is which. Total sales, sales and percentage. Now that we're done, simply create. That will do the same thing that it did before. And here, instead of being able to select by category, you're able to select by measure. So we're gonna just change it into a like this kind of type. So format painter, like this. Make it sort of in a similar format like that. And lastly, we need to go back to our chart here. And in this y-axis, instead of the percentage of sales, we want to use the measure by table. Here we go. So now if you select sales, that will give you the total sales. And if you choose percentage, that will let you choose and see percentage in your chart. And you'll notice that also works here as well. If you choose by customer or by product, it will give you percentages. And you also have the ability to flick through to sales, which is what I think is really, really powerful. So now that you know the basics of field parameters, now I want to show you a use case that was asked from me by one of my clients. So basically the scenario is this. You'll see that if we have the product selected here, you will notice that it will give us all the sales by product, but there's quite a lot of categories here. And even if you look at customers, it's the same thing. So you can just keep scrolling, and if you have a lot more customer than this, it will look a lot more hideous. So instead of showing all the customers or all the products, we want to just show the top 10 products when we flick on this field parameter, or if we flick on the customer, we just want to show the top 10 customers. So let's try to do that. The first thing that we need to do is to create a new column for our top 10s, which is what we'll use to slice our data by. So on the product tables, for example, we want to get the total sales. So if we just create a new column, and we can't use a measure here because the column is what we'll use to filter by. So for here, let's say we're gonna do top 10 products, and let's just try to get total sales here for now. And let me show you what I mean. So if we create total sales here on this new column, it will summarize essentially the top 10, or rather the sum of sales for each of those products. So from here, we simply just need to wrap this with a rank X to to say, give me the, say, products here. Give me the rank of the total sales in my products table. So you will see that here, top 10, it's giving us a value for currency, but it should just be a number. So we'll just change it into a whole number like this. Or actually, we'll just do a general because that's not the last bit. And then from here, we want to say, if you are within the top 10, give me your name. If not, then don't give me anything, right? So if we just put that back there, and we'll just wrap it with an if statement. So if this is, if you are within the top 10 in my rank, give me your name. So product name like this. And then otherwise is nothing, so we'll just leave it empty like that. Hit enter. So now you'll see that it will give us the top 10 products that were highest selling from our product table, and everything else will stay blank, which is fine. This is exactly what we wanted. And I'm gonna continue this for our next slice by, which is the top 10, I believe, customers. So we'll just do the same thing on the customers table here, create a new column. I'm just gonna paste it to save some time. Top 10 customers. We're gonna rank our customers table. We want to get obviously total sales. And then if you are within the top 10, give me the company name like this. So there we go. So whichever customers are in the top 10, it will give us the name, otherwise it will be empty. So it's exactly the same logic as the products table. So then now that we've created these two columns, let's try to add this into our filters in our field parameters here. So to do that, we're gonna go back to slice by. We will just add two more things at the very bottom here. Name this one top 10 product, top 10 customers. Name of is here, we will reference this new calculated column that we've created. So it'll be top 10 products here, and then top 10 customers here, 3 and 4. So now you will see that it will give us those options in our field parameters. So if we select that, you'll see that it sort of gives us what we need, except that you will notice there is this big bar here, and this is the blank values which we have omitted in our if statement. Now what we want to do, for example, if you see even the customers will have the same problem, it'll give you the top 10, but it will not exclude the blank. Now the first instinct from here from you would probably be, oh, why don't we just hide, or just say if the value is less than or equals to or is not 0. But the problem is it won't quite work. And even if you do it on, let's say, the top 10 customers, or you do it on the slice by filter, this won't quite work. And you need to bear in mind that obviously if you just simply hide the blank for top 10 customers, it means that that filter won't work for top 10 products. So we need to find a more dynamic way to hide or exclude the blanks. So I'm just gonna remove all of those that I've done. So we'll keep these. We're gonna create one last measure here. You can create it anywhere you want. I'm gonna create a new measure. Let's call it top 10 filter. And then from here, I'm gonna write if whatever you have selected in your slice by, like this, is if you have selected top 10 products, and if the top 10 products is blank. So basically what this is checking is that if you have the top 10 products selected and if your product name is empty, what we want to do is to exclude you from the list. Otherwise, we want to include you, so 0 or 1. This is exactly what we want to do. Let me just see if I've missed something here. 0, 1, like this. Okay, I missed a closing parenthesis here. So that will, as you will notice, if we just add it into our chart here, top 10 filter, add it in our filters on this visual. And if this is 1, then yes. So basically exclude the zeros. So if you go back to your top 10 products, you'll notice that top 10 or that blank value at the very front is now gone. We need to do the same thing for the top 10 customers. So let's go back to our top 10 filter here, and instead of putting it here, let's actually put this in a switch statement so we can handle both top 10 products and top 10 customers in the same place. So I'm gonna just delete everything apart from the logic that I've created already. So it's in my clipboard. I'm gonna do a switch statement, type true. And then the expression would be, first, if you're selecting top 10 products, make it 0. We need to do the same thing for top 10 customers. So same thing, same logic. If you have top 10 customers selected, and if you have top 10 customers is blank, then 0 else 1. So here you go. So you'll see that now that empty value that we have on our top 10 customers is gone, and we're just left with the top 10 customers that we have here in our chart. So you have the top 10 customers and top 10 products, and you're able to switch between what measures you are measuring by. There we go. And that's really it for this video. I hope you now know how easy it is to start using the field parameters feature in Power BI. Thanks for watching. As usual, give this video a like if you found it useful. Give it a dislike if you didn't, so I know to do better for next time. Ask your questions in the comment section box below so I can help you and you can help others. If you really like this video, we have a Patreon page where you can support the channel and get exclusive perks like early access, demo files, and credits at the end of these videos. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.